Welcome back, everybody, to the Filmmakers Roundtable, the podcast dedicated to films, filmmaking, and getting insight from filmmakers working in the industry. I'm Thomas.
And I'm Dylan. It's coming right up on the Filmmakers Podcast. We forgot to clap before that, so Tom of the future, use that as your reference when making the video.
Got you.
But yeah, we like to have fun here. I'm doing fine. I finally made some headway on some projects.
Nice.
Been continually writing the script for my movie that I want to do. I get that concert video. I showed the current version of it to the band. They loved it.
Nice.
The bassist told me he wanted one section cut down, and then there was a flub with one of the guy's cables. He was plugging it in, and it caused some feedback. It was one of those deals where they were already playing, so it wasn't like one of those moments of silence where something happens that I could easily cut out. It was right while they were in the middle of a opener to a song. So I'm gonna have to work around that because they don't want that in there.
Cool.
But I need to do some pricing because they want prices on 100 copies of the DVD, 200 copies, 300 copies. So I need to look into the cost of DVD sleeves and discs in general. Side projects have been coming along great. Now that I've gotten some work done, now that I've gotten some projects for work done, I've had some extra free time to work on some videos of my own.
Nice.
I actually just recently posted a new video regarding a certain news in the video game world right now.
Nice.
Nice.
Cool.
That'll be in the description below. But outside of that, I've been enjoying myself. I've got an interview on Monday for a potential job in Lafayette, so fingers crossed.
Yep.
Just gonna go there and scope everything out and see how it goes. By the time you guys hear this, I'll probably be back from said interview since these come out on Monday.
Yeah, that's true. Cool.
Tom, how are you been, my friend?
I'm doing all right. So Awaken, unfortunately, has been slowed down. I think what's probably gonna, because I haven't heard from any of the actors, I think what's probably gonna happen is I'm gonna postpone it to January. So it's unfortunate, but I can't rush these things. So
Some good things take time to do.
yeah, so it's unfortunate, but I don't really want to work on this till like 2020. But you know, it is what it is. So yeah.
I mean, some films.
So
You're not alone. Some films took years to get done.
yeah,
Like George Romero. It was every 5 years he would make a movie.
yeah. But you know, that said, my deadline is March, so fingers crossed. So
I'm always here if you need a hand, man.
good to hear. So
Yep.
yeah, other than that, I'm doing all right. So
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
So are we ready?
yep, that's ready. Let's move on.
Movie news. News.
That may be a little too
Energetic for the first piece.
yeah.
So let's ease into that. Let's shift that around to the end.
yeah.
Okay, that way people aren't going to get whiplash from what we had first on our list.
Good idea.
So we're going to start with the more upbeat news. So, according to USA Today, Subway is going to be giving away free kids tickets to the new Mary Poppins Returns movie. For those who aren't familiar, they are doing a sequel to the Disney film Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen of the trailer, I feel like they've got all the elements down. Well, just from what they're showing, it feels like they have an understanding of what they're doing. Maybe the debate whether this sequel should exist or not, that's a debate we can have based on any further trailers and when we actually see the movie, but
Well, I'm not going to see it.
I think this is shaping up to be something interesting. I don't know. I mean, I think it knows what it's doing. I think it's going to be a competent sequel, I think.
We'll see.
It's great to see 2D animation on live action footage again. I feel like there's just a magic to that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's why I love movies like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and it's always great to see something like that happen.
Yeah.
Heck, Mary Poppins wasn't necessarily it was like Roger Rabbit before Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
It's got to be some painful rotoscoping they had to do.
oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And imagine all the actors having to come in and do everything and hit their marks perfectly.
Yeah.
And actually, Mary Poppins was one of the examples that Rob Zemeckis used when he was trying to fine-tune the art in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The eye line, that was an important thing they were looking for. Because they didn't want an actor looking over a character. Because with an animated character, you can control where they're looking, and you can have them look directly at an actor.
Right.
But if your actor is not looking at them properly, that breaks the eye line and it completely ruins the illusion.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But for a limited time, the world's largest restaurant chain is giving away vouchers for free children's movie tickets to Mary Poppins Returns with purchase of Subway Fresh Fit for Kids meals.
Probably trying to make up for the Jared.
Did you just really?
Yes.
Come on, man.
What? Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. Oh, God. Thank God he's behind bars.
Yeah.
But let's move on to some other news.
Yeah, Dear Evan Hansen,
For all you musical lovers out there, the Tony-winning Best Musical, Dear Evan Hansen, will be coming to the big screen. For those who aren't familiar with Dear Evan Hansen, as I am not, I did not know this musical existed until today. It follows an awkward high schooler who attempts to get close to the family of a classmate who dies by suicide.
I think I've heard of it, so
Nice.
but I've never seen it. So.
Mark Platt, according to Vulture.com, father of Ben, who won a Tony starring in the musical, and Adam Siegel, who are producing the adaptation. Songwriters Ben Pazik and Justin Paul would executive produce alongside book writer Stephen Livingston, who would also write the script for the film. So I think from the sound of it, this sounds like the plan for a really good adaptation, since they got all these people working from the musical. I mean, it makes sense. You want to have the people who made the musical on board.
Yeah. So, hope so.
It sounds interesting just by the tagline there alone.
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah.
And then our last bit of news before we get to the news that we had to shift around. We have a little bit of an update on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
right.
The new Tarantino film about Charles Manson. We've been following this for a while. And this latest piece of news confirms that the movie will be released on August 14th of 2019 in France.
Yeah, probably we said in time for the Cannes Film Festival, like Tarantino always does.
And this news comes around at the same time that Tarantino just married Daniela Pick, which has been coming up in the search results for Once Upon a Time, because in those same articles, they mention that the fact that the film has completed filming.
Well, that's good. So,
yep.
I'm excited.
I know, and like I said, I'm definitely convinced that the reason that they remastered the Beatles' White Album is just so they can promote Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with it, like cross promotion. I bet it's a cross promotion kind of deal.
You think it'll be in the movie?
I wouldn't
like a song from the album will be in the movie.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's the time period. Hell, I won't be surprised, but I look forward to hearing Helter Skelter in that movie. Because that's one of the songs off that album that I really like.
Yeah.
But that's it for the news.
Well, let's move on to the news we were gonna say before.
This is sad to
say we lost another legend.
Stephan Hillenburg.
Yes.
Many of you associate that name with SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yep.
He died this month due to complications with ALS.
Yep. And which I had no idea that he had ALS. I had no idea he had that.
I remember hearing about that. I believe it was shortly after the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. That whole trend really died down in public popularity, like everybody doing it. That news came out, and then not a whole lot of people made anything out of it. That news came out, and everybody moved on with their lives. So reportedly, there were complications with his ALS, and he has passed away.
Yeah. Yeah, which I was surprised because he wasn't that old. So
No, it was not.
I didn't know how what caused it. So yeah. So
And this just came during his new tenure with the SpongeBob show because he came back recently.
yeah, he did.
Little history: he actually left the show after the first movie.
Yep. So I guess maybe was before he came back after he was diagnosed.
Yes, I believe so.
So I guess he kind of wanted to leave SpongeBob on a good note before he left the world because that was his career. So
Yeah, I was talking to Tom about this before we started. I looked up his filmography and his work in television. Outside of Rocko's Modern Life, SpongeBob was practically his whole television and movie career.
yeah,
Outside of marine biology.
yeah. So
I said this on Twitter. This is a show. This man created a little yellow talking sponge that a majority of us liked as kids.
yeah,
And we still like to this day as adults. Because
borrowing after the movie
yes.
between movies.
Mm-hmm. But the point is, we can quote those first few seasons word for word by heart, even though we haven't watched that episode in God knows how long.
Yeah.
That is a testament to what this man has created.
Yeah.
And all I have to say is, Godspeed, Mr. Hillenburg. Godspeed.
Rest in peace. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
I know the meme world is going to miss him because of all the memes that were spawned when everybody was going back and remembering the first few seasons.
Yeah.
Like
I think I just thought of one. when they think Squidward's a ghost.
Oh.
And then they trap him in that bubble and lift him up in the air.
I
know.
Oh. I saw an edit of that recently and I retweeted that.
Oh.
They photoshopped his picture.
I didn't see it, but I just thought of that and I was like, it makes sense. Like,
yeah, they photoshopped his picture and
fly high.
Oh god, and I can remember that episode like it was yesterday.
Do you think they'll do like a special remembrance episode?
I don't know. I wouldn't be opposed to it.
I mean, I'm sure they'll do like in memory of Stephen Hillenburg at the end of an episode, but
probably they did that.
Maybe they'll do an episode on how to deal with death.
I don't know.
Or like an allegory for death.
Maybe. Who knows?
So.
But yeah, Mr. Hillenburg, Godspeed, you magnificent bastard.
Yep.
Now we're gonna hopefully transition into our next section of the podcast. So that is movie news. No reverb there, Dylan. We're trying to transition to the next section without any whiplash emotionally.
We'll fade to black. And we're back.
Yes.
And we're back.
All right. Now, without any whiplash to hold us back, we're going to move on to movies that we've seen this week.
All right. Fade to black. And we're back. Welcome to Movies We've Seen. So, I didn't see anything. So, Dylan, what'd you see?
Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Nice. So,
I saw that at the historic Artcraft Theater with my grandmother when she was over here for post-Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, what do you think of it?
What do I think of it? I loved these movies as a kid. My parents, outside of Space Jam, which, according to my folks, I could sit for 8 hours and rewind and watch over and over again. Home Alone and Home Alone 2 were some of the movies that I watched repeatedly as a kid. Even the third one.
Yeah.
Even though I think, even as a kid, I was confused. Who is this kid?
Yeah.
Where's Kevin?
Yeah.
But Home Alone 2, haven't given it a proper watch in years.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since my family moved from VHS, which is where I watched it. Mm-hmm. Since we moved to DVDs, we gave away most of our VHS collection, so I haven't given it a proper viewing in years. Mm-hmm. And I have a whole bunch of hindsight to it, and I've had other people's takes on it over the years, because a lot of people have pointed out that it's the same movie, but set in New York.
Yeah. So
I feel like Home Alone 2 has the first two Home Alone movies have a certain kind of magic that kind of really doesn't matter that they're the same stories.
Yeah.
I feel like, especially 2, I feel like it does a few things here
Yeah.
or there that helps it stand out. That being that it's set in New York, Tim Curry, and I forgot that Rob Schneider was in this.
In a role that's not racially insensitive.
Exactly, I know.
So, but yeah, I if I can throw my 2 cents here, I love it.
I
I love I love it. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what the NC says. So I love it.
I know. These movies are Christmas staples for a gosh darn reason. They're not perfect films, but they're damn good.
Yeah, I have seen the third one.
I have too. I had it on VHS.
And not in a long time, but it was dead on arrival. It was just like this. There was no way it was gonna work. So I feel like Home Alone 3, if I'm allowed to remember that for a moment. I haven't given that a proper watching in years. Yeah.
I think it just I don't think it was dead on arrival. For me, it wasn't dead on arrival. I feel like it was just awkward.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just something about it didn't seem right. The fact that we're dealing with,
but it was made by the same guy who did the Smurfs.
Really?
Yeah. And not the decent Lord of the Rings Smurf movies, but the one with Neil Patrick Harris.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. It's sad because Home Alone 3 is his best movie. So now, I want to ask: have you seen any of the direct-to-DVD ones?
I saw the fourth one where they tried to bring back Harry. Yeah, they tried to bring back Harry. Or no, they did, but it wasn't Joe Pesci. Yeah, okay. For those who aren't familiar with the latter-day Home Alone sequels, they were straight to DVD, and they had some play during Christmas marathons and such, like your ABC Family, 25 Days of Christmas and stuff like that. But none of the original actors are there.
No.
I'm telling you that in the fourth movie, they brought back Harry from the first two movies, but it wasn't Joe Pesci. But it seemed like the McAllister family had shrunk. Like, Buzz got really young. Like, he was played by a really younger guy.
Wait, so it's back to the McAllisters?
Yeah, it was the kid in that movie was supposed to be Kevin.
I must be thinking, because there was 2 direct-to-video ones.
Because there was one.
I know I've seen one of them, but
which one? The Holiday Heist, which is the piece de resistance with Malcolm McDowell. Yes, Malcolm McDowell was in a Home Alone sequel. I'm still trying to process that.
I think it was this one.
Wait, which? Yes, that's the one. That's the one.
Okay, I've only seen parts of it. And that was a long time ago, but I don't know. I don't remember anything. I thought it was like a completely different family.
I remember it being the McAllisters, and just remembering I watched a couple of the scenes when they were at home, and I'm like, this is Kevin? Wait, that's not Buzz. Granted, they probably couldn't get the same actors, because when did that come out?
Let me go back here.
Okay.
2002.
Oh, definitely. Oh, well,
yeah.
Maybe you could have gotten away with it. Maybe.
Yeah, but well, like one of the reasons why Culkin wasn't in Home Alone 3 or the preceding ones is, well, he was almost an adult by that point. That was 96, 97 when that came out. Mm-hmm. So he was almost an adult. So and he was kind of going through his thing, and his family, was going through stuff, and he kind of just wanted to be a normal guy. So he still acted here and there, but
Culkin.
Yeah.
Just Culkin.
Yeah.
Oh, did you know that though Buzz's actor hasn't done a whole lot, as far as I know here recently, he actually are you familiar with the YouTube channel Glove and Boots?
I think so.
He actually appeared on one of their episodes when they were talking about MTV. He played an MTV representative.
Huh.
Yep. It's just one of those things where they actually told you several videos later that it was the guy who played Buzz in Home Alone. But it seems like he's doing well for himself.
I hope so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we know the father. He passed away a couple years ago.
Catherine O'Hare as well. Oh, she didn't die, but I'm just remembering all the actors that I remember.
Yeah.
Who played the villain in Anastasia 2. Botar's, the Magnificent Botart. Mm-hmm.
You think they'd ever do another one with some of the original? Yeah.
I think. Oh. I would say it could be possible.
Yeah. There's a fan trailer. I think I showed it to you.
Yes, you did.
We'll put it in the link in the description. There's a fan trailer, with like a grown-up Culkin, and like Marv on like a smartphone, and it's just like Marv is back, or no, Harry is back. So and like Joe Pesci. Although it's a shame because like I know Pesci's not acting much anymore because he's doing his own thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'd love to see another one. Just to see what they do with it. So.
Daniel Stern, I like to see him again.
Stern, that's what they're saying.
Yes.
Yeah. That type of slapstick comedy is not really around anymore.
I think that's the thing that keeps it around, because when I was when I went to the Historic Artcraft Theater, now there were a lot of jokes in the beginning before the slapstick really came in.
Yeah.
That people were laughing at, but the crowd was roaring
at
the trap section.
Yes.
My favorite part in Home Alone 2 is the stairway scene.
The tool chest.
Yes,
yes.
It's so perfectly.
It sounds like that was the sound of
a tool chest falling down the stairs.
Oh.
You can tell it's a prosthetic nose that they're adjusting, but it works so well.
Yeah.
Because Joe Pesci, he can have a menacing presence if you look at movies like Goodfellas.
Oh.
But that man,
Casino.
But that man can be hilarious.
Yeah.
It's just like him and Daniel Stern. It just, some of the comedic timing and the reactions that these guys give is perfect.
Yeah.
And I don't remember this as a kid, but I thought this was an addition that got edited out. But the scene in Home Alone 2 where he grabs the two faucets and he gets electrocuted, and he turns into a skeleton at one point.
Yeah,
I don't remember that as a kid, but I do.
Hilarious. It fucking terrified me. It literally shocked me.
And here's something that I just noticed: we must have got the original print that went out to theaters.
Oh yeah,
because there was a scene where Kevin, it's after the point where he realizes, my family's in Florida and I'm in New York. But after that, he's going around town, he's seeing the sights. He actually goes on top of the World Trade Center.
Really?
I never saw that scene as a kid.
I remember seeing, it was on VHS, that he went up to it was like a tilt-up shot of the World Trade Center, but I don't remember that scene.
But yeah, there's a scene where he's on top of one of the towers.
I remember. Let me see that.
I don't remember that in television broadcast for the obvious reason.
Yeah, to World Trade Center scene.
But I love.
Oh, yep, I found it. It's on here. It's on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. But the thing is, there's the reason that I love these movies is that I love movies that I can go back to and I can always find something new. If a movie can keep me entertained well after the first time I've watched it, well after the 10th time I've watched it, that has some staying power. And the Home Alone movies, especially 1 and 2, have that power.
Yeah, yep, I found it.
You did?
Yep.
It's just that be it. It's just a nice pull-out shot, aerial pull-out shot of him looking about off the Twin Towers.
Yeah, it's like, It's like in Godzilla '98.
Oh.
And it's like the worst act of destruction in New York City since the World Trade Center bombing
in 1993.
That was
it was 93.
Yeah, I was saying that the movie came out in '98. I'm just like, ugh.
It actually reminded me of this fun fact about Zoolander. There was a shot with the two towers in the background, and when they were going to release it, there was a whole controversy about them deciding whether they should digitally edit it out, because the movie was filmed before that happened.
Yeah.
And then when they were going to release it, they were just debating, should we edit out the towers from this shot here?
Yeah, and the first Spider-Man movie.
The trailer.
Yeah.
The first teaser trailer.
Do you think that was the reveal? in the movie? That was going to be in the movie, but they had to cut it out?
I would speculate yes, because it feels like that whole thing was straight out of a comic book. That feels like something out of a Marvel comic book.
That would have been an awesome reveal.
That would have.
Yeah, but yeah.
I mean, I still love the first Spider-Man movie, but that would have been amazing.
It's a guilty pleasure for me because I watched it all the time as a kid. But
they probably could have gotten away with it if they just were able to find a different section of New York. But then people probably would have asked, "Well, why'd you edit out the Twin Towers or something?"
Even like the poster. There was a poster, with the in the World Trade Center was in the reflection, so they had to pull those. Those are pretty rare collector's items now.
I would like to get one of those.
Yeah.
If I could snag myself a copy of that poster, I'd frame that.
You could probably make one.
Probably. Why not?
Yeah. But okay, we got way off track.
Yes, but Home Alone 2.
I love it.
Those first two movies, they got my childhood by the balls. But you play that theme from John Williams.
I realized that was wrong, but
and then there's the
perfect.
It's so simple, but it's so effective. It brings a tear to my eyes. It's like
it's just perfect.
I know, and Macaulay Culkin. As I've grown older, I can see where the child actor tendencies where some of the
he was on top of the world.
I know, but where his acting kind of suffers in certain points where some other child actors would suffer, he's just really charming.
Yeah.
Like, I know this kid's acting, but then he does that thing with his eyebrows, and it's like, I'm putty in his hand. I'm all for this kid,
Yeah.
But, Macaulay Culkin, if you're hearing this, you made my childhood, man.
He has a podcast.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
I'll have to watch that.
Yeah.
I'll listen to that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, maybe we can get him on the show next season.
Maybe.
So,
Mr. Culkin, please.
I mean, if he did Red Letter Media, he did 2 videos with Red Letter Media. So,
hey, why not?
So,
and I hope I see him in a movie sometime soon.
You never know. So, although he said he won't do this again.
Oh.
Yeah, he's just like no. He said on Ellen, he was on Ellen. He was just like, no, Mom, I'm 38. Yeah.
Aww.
That's crazy. It's crazy. He's 38 years old.
God, we're so used to him being that. It's like the same.
He still looks good.
He does when he shaved that beard.
Yeah, and cut his hair.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, I'm glad he's doing good for himself.
Yeah,
because
he probably never has to work again, but
probably.
So
because I remember him being the butt of everybody's joke when he had the beard, the hair, and everything. When he was going through that rough patch in his life.
Yeah, and the pizza songs.
Oh yes,
I never heard them, but.
I think there are a couple of jamming sessions that online on YouTube because they took a picture of when he got. There's a couple of videos on there. You'll recognize the videos because it's a screenshot, I believe, of the first Home Alone movie when he's getting his pizza.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway,
that's Home Alone 2.
Yeah.
Go watch it. If you haven't seen Home Alone 2, where the hell have you been during Christmas?
Yeah. So and by the way, TBS and TNT or whatever, stop playing A Christmas Story 24 hours a day, please stop. That'll be a rant for the last episode. Favorite of the season, favorite Christmas movies.
Oh yes,
we'll get into that.
Yes,
another episode.
Yes.
What we got, like 2 more episodes?
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah, 2 more episodes after this. So.
All right, let's move on to the last part of today's episode. Our discussion.
So, pacing yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is kind of something I wanted to bring up because I think it's something that everybody struggles with how to pace yourself for working on projects. Mm-hmm. So, there's procrastination, which we can go into on another episode. We will go into a little bit here. But, yeah, Dylan, if you have anything to add before I go on.
Okay, pacing yourself, just in general.
Yeah.
The best thing, I think the guiding rod for pacing yourself is having an established deadline.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So you can mentally develop yourself a timeline of, okay, I need to hit this point before this day, and I need to hit this point before this day, or I've got this long to procrastinate.
Yeah.
Or like I can procrastinate from here to here, so I need to start here in order to still make the deadline. Or
So
I don't know. I don't endorse procrastination, but I do admit everybody does it.
yes,
We've all done it once or twice.
Yeah, actually, we did talk about this on another episode.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. So I guess kind of like give my own experiences. I've done both. There've been cases where I paced myself pretty well, and there's times where I procrastinated. It came out good, and then there was another time where it didn't get finished at all. So, I guess like for the latter, Dark Force episode 3, both the original and revisited. So, I think I said this before. I was pulling like 18-hour days just to try and get that done, trying to get that finished editing. But I'm just like, after like 3 days of doing that, I'm just like, I can't do it. And I was starting to lose my mind and be sitting in my office for days on end. So I just like, I gotta get out of here.
I gotta take a break.
Yeah. And there were other things going on in my life at the time, but that's besides the point. And then, now there have been times where I have paced myself really well. The first time, Dark Force episode 4. We started shooting in October 24th, I think. I remember that because that day was when I had a really bad panic attack. So, and we finished just before Thanksgiving. So, pretty sure, yeah. And I paced myself pretty well with editing. I edited most of it at school. Because I had like 2 periods to work on it, working on the iMac at school, and that was really cool and fun. So, and I got it done in a reasonable time. Although around that time, my hard drive on my computer crashed, and then I had to deal with the whole thing. Luckily, I had everything backed up.
Good. So, always keep your stuff backed up.
Yes. And then I got it finished. I turned it in on time, and I wasn't really like stressing, like, oh my god, I gotta get this done. Except for exporting, because that always takes longer than expected.
Oh, I've been having that issue too. That concert video I've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a day to export that whole thing.
How long is it?
It's about roughly an hour, and I'm exporting HD 1080p.
Yeah.
Progressive interlacing, 24 frames a second.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been trying to play around with the bit rate, but I noticed that diminished the quality a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you had that problem too. And then the other time is the Stigma Anxiety documentary that we did last year.
Mm-hmm.
I for all the stuff that was going on, I paced myself pretty well. Like we started shooting in early March.
Just about.
Yeah, so early March is when we started. We got like most of the interviews done. But I think like maybe like the 3rd week of March, I had to put everything to the side because that was when my grandfather was, his time was coming. So I had to drop everything, and I was working at Big Lots at the time. I kind of had to focus just on work and family. Actually, the documentary was kind of a mix of both. Both I procrastinated and paced myself pretty well. I procrastinated because I didn't have a choice. I was like, I had to put that to the side. So, and I missed one of my deadlines. I missed the early bird deadline for the Heartland Film Festival. And I wasn't going to turn it in there. I was just going to have a rough cut done, show it to friends, get notes, and then just in case I had to like completely decide to do a complete re-edit of it, then I would do it. But the funeral was like 2 days before the deadline, and I still had things to shoot for the documentary. So there was no way I was gonna get that finished. So, I still had another interview to shoot, Seth's interview, and then I still had to shoot B-roll and everything. So there was no way that was gonna get done. But I got it done in a reasonable time. I paced myself pretty well. I worked on a little bit here, a little bit there, and then I kept going. And then I wasn't like stressing over it. I was just like, oh my god, I gotta get this done. So even though there were some things looking back on the documentary, I was like, could have trimmed that, but that's just kind of the reality of things.
Yeah, there's sometimes you just gotta bite the bullet and just punch your way through. True. I've had to do that. Last week I had to do that one time because I was working on the Night Owl Country Band concert video. That was taking a day to export, and I have to play around with Media Encoder because that would have saved me on stress to be able to work on something while something's exporting. But when I was doing that, it was exporting only the first 10 minutes, and it was at very low quality for some reason.
Yeah.
Even though I specified 1080, so I'm going to need to look into that. But so I spent all day exporting that, but I had a video for work that I needed to get done. So the moment that was done, I bit the bullet. I didn't care how long I was going to have to stay up and do it. I just got it done.
Yeah.
And I exported it that morning before I had to go in and film the same video because we do this video every week.
Yeah.
So I got it up on the drive, then went to bed, and then got up several hours later to go film the video again.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to give yourself that deadline.
Yeah.
That way you are mentally thinking of how you're going to pace yourself. If you got a very lengthy project, you need to pace yourself really well. That way you can get something done and you don't lose your head over it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we talked about this several episodes ago about keeping motivated.
Yeah.
Because a lengthy project is gonna chip away at your motivation and your drive. Well, not your drive, just your motivation. Like, it's just you're eventually gonna come to the point if you work on something for so long and you haven't made significant progress or you're not anywhere close to being done. You're like, why am I working on this? I haven't even gotten anywhere.
Yeah.
We all get there. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
But there's just times you gotta punch your way through, pace yourself out really well to where you're able to sustain your motivation and not have it chipped away as easily as working straight through a lengthy project.
Yep, very true.
And there are several remedies for doing that, putting stuff on in the background, like white noise. Some people work with white noise in the background.
Yeah.
I know I work best on stuff when I'm just got like a movie on in the background.
Yeah.
Not too loud so I can still work audio, etc., but that's me.
Yeah, true.
But pacing is going to make or break whatever you're working on.
Yeah.
And I highly suggest the practice of if it's not something for work. If it's something for work, you're obviously going to have a deadline.
Yes.
But if it's not something for any job that you're doing, etc., set yourself self-impose a deadline on yourself. But always remember, pretend that it is a hard stretched deadline. Yeah. And then start working with that knowledge. Because I've been working on something for this year that I had a self-imposed deadline of the end of this year, at the end of December, and I've made great progress on it. It's a book that I'm writing, and I always have this goal every day, at least a paragraph a day. Wettrick actually told me that write a paragraph a day, and it'll be progress. Yeah, you'll have more than when you started out.
Yeah, or be like Stephen King, get like 6 pages a day.
Well, why not? Why not? Maybe I'll get there one day.
Yeah.
But the self-imposed deadline, pretend it's like hard, you have to have it done before this day.
Yes.
That will motivate you and help you pace yourself to getting a large chunk of it done before said deadline. And even if you don't make that deadline, you're way further in that project than when you started out. It's true. Yep. So there's something to be said about imposing a deadline on yourself that you may not fulfill, but it guarantees you. It often guarantees you progress because you're thinking, okay, I got to finish this before this deadline. I've got to finish it before that. Yeah. Wait, the deadline's here, but I've made so much progress.
But so much more to do.
Yeah. I've only got this much left to do, and I've already done all of this. I'm all right. I'm gonna be fine.
Yeah. So I think
that was the quickest discussion we've had.
Yeah, I'm trying
because it's not even 45 minutes.
Wow. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. So, but I mean, like I said, you probably will still miss deadlines. Like for the documentary, I missed the deadline because it was 2 days. Or actually, no, it was the day. The funeral was the day before the deadline. So yeah, I knew that there was no way I was gonna finish that because, like I said, I still had things to shoot for the documentary. So I'm
trying to remember a few times I've missed a deadline.
No. I remember back in FCTV we asked for it was my junior year. We asked to extend the deadline for a class project.
Mm-hmm.
Hankins didn't take it too well. So, I mean, I didn't. I was like,
Well,
I didn't add anything to the class. I was just like, okay.
To his credit, he comes from an industry that I'm trying to get into for a full-time job where deadlines are not extendable unless in very severe cases. The moment you get a deadline there, you live or die by it.
And saying he was preparing us for college, so.
Mm-hmm.
So, and to be fair, some of the class wasn't doing the best.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a conversation for another day. And also, he's right. College is not going to extend that deadline very often.
If you cut this out, I just remembered I need to put that in that document. Okay.
Okay, we're back.
Yeah, sorry. I just had to tell something, Dylan, that I didn't want to say on air. So.
All right.
Which, by the way, we should get an on-air sign when we build a set next season.
Like get a sign, wire it through to the outside, have a little like a neon sign on air.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
And put one on the set. So
why not?
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to think if there's anything. If you want to think about those deadlines you missed. So.
The deadlines that I missed. Okay, we'll cut this out because I need to think. Think a couple of the film projects that I did in college.
Mm-hmm.
Like after Paperlate fell through, I had to come up with something. No, I actually was able to make that deadline. The issue was for that one was because of the content in there.
Yeah.
I didn't give it to the university for feedback before the. Okay, so that is technically a missed deadline there.
Yeah.
So what happened? We've gone over the story before, but when the video was done, Online Gaming in a Nutshell was done.
Yeah.
I submitted it to my executive producer, who was one of the heads of the film club.
Yeah.
She liked it.
Cool.
The issue was because of all the cursing, even though censored, it would have looked really awkward on the station's part because they go by FCC guidelines because they do have a broadcaster's license for both their television studio and the radio stations. And since that film club was associated with UNDTV, they don't follow under the same jurisdiction, but they fall under the same eyes, the same reputation.
Yeah.
So it would have looked awkward to have something like that in the film fest, like because of how rapidly the cursing happened in said video.
Yeah.
They liked it, but the one thing that I was criticized on, and rightfully so, was that I didn't give myself enough time, and I missed the deadline to show it to my executive producer and get feedback and make changes before the film fest.
Yeah.
That was a deadline I missed.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah, if you're working for somebody, in most cases, like with my job, I'm able to get feedback after a deadline.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, that's how it will work, unless you're working at a television station where you have to be thinking of this feedback and make it the best. Because there's always this, especially in television, there's always this pressure on you because you often don't have that time for feedback. So there's that pressure on your shoulders. Okay, you got to make this great. You got to make this perfect on your first go. There's no time for feedback. So if you're going to do this right, do it right.
Right. Especially if it's like a news package.
Definitely, because usually when those are produced, they go on air shortly several hours after they're done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So pacing, it depends on the deadline, depends on whether it's a self-imposed deadline or a hard deadline from your work, and depends on the work environment that you're in. If you're in the television industry,
or even just the film industry in general,
you live or die by that deadline.
Yeah.
But that's not always the case in film, because Steven Spielberg missed the deadline several times with Jaws.
Yeah.
Because
and George Lucas.
Yep, because they would the heads funding their movies would always call up saying, you're never going to work in this industry again if you don't get this done.
Well, I'm sure he's been told that a lot of times.
Irony.
Yeah.
Irony, because those two went on to be the most prolific directors we know today.
Yeah.
Stephen more than George because of the whole special edition and everything that happened with Star Wars. Because
E.T. The guns with walkie-talkie.
the government's gonna come. All of our guns are gonna turn into walkie-talkies. It'll be weird. I actually saw the print with I saw E.T. in the Artcraft Theater here a couple months ago.
Yeah.
I saw the print with a shotgun.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
They changed them back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, they did. They changed them to for those who aren't familiar. After the original release of E.T., they changed that scene where the police officer has a shotgun in his hand to a walkie-talkie, and they changed it back. And you should have heard the crowd. Everybody was where it's the scene where they're taking off over the police cars.
Yeah.
For those who aren't familiar, but everyone's focus was on that officer when they noticed that guy's got a shotgun.
Yeah.
Is he gonna shoot him?
Yeah.
And a walkie-talkie didn't make it any better because he's like, why is he holding that walkie-talkie like he's got a gun?
Yeah.
So. Oh, God.
Yeah.
But we've talked enough about special editions.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But
anything else about pacing?
I think that's all I've got.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
All right.
So.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into the Filmmakers Roundtable. This podcast comes out every Monday on SoundCloud and YouTube. Any special links that we mentioned during this episode today will be in the description below. Also, please leave us any feedback. Please tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing wrong, what we could improve on. It's always welcome. You want us to check out something? Please leave it in the comments below. As always, folks, keep on filmmaking, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching this week's episode, guys. Make sure to follow us on SoundCloud and iTunes, as well as our Facebook and Twitter pages. Don't forget to subscribe to the Roundtable, as well as our personal YouTube channels, all the links of which will be provided in the description. Thanks, guys, and we will see you on the next episode of the Filmmakers Roundtable.